that a little bit more.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. What Godfrey, Adam, you knew a little bit about Liz's character, but in that moment when you all were just hanging out at the table and that introduction happened, and you met Ulu as well for the first time as a player, how was that for you?
It was cool. It was good to, like, I always love the, like, assumed pasts, you know, like just having these pre-built, not like character knowledge, but not player knowledge of things. So just being able to play into it like it's comfortable and known. Like
Yeah.
I live for that. Like I think that's one of the best parts of like storytelling.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to tease it right now, but you all have this awesome moment in episodes that are not released yet from our previous session that I can't wait for listeners to hear. So
I like what's going on there too. I thought that was, and I meant to say it after the session, but like totally above table. I really loved that moment between Godfrey and Scylla, and I can't wait for people to like to hear that.
yeah.
And again, like to see where that grows and like how this party kind of comes together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So we spend a lot of time in these next 2 episodes, really, just at the Carousel Court. There's a lot of lore dump. There's a lot of just scheming, knowledge, education. I like, for me, it's kind of a blur. So I'm going to kind of lean on you both a little bit to like call out like moments that stand out for you in those 2 episodes, Arm Wrestling and Insight and Coffee and Schemes, that, you know, were pivotal for your characters or pivotal for you in terms of the lore of the story within those 2. I'm putting you on the spot. I'm sorry.
I'll let Godfrey take this if you want to go first.
Yeah, sure. Like I feel like there was a dynamic that was found during the planning phase. You know, when we were sitting down at a map, and there was just like a stark contrast between like Livy's very much like let's find the most optimal route and let's try to discover things and let's really go in here and like maybe there's these fantastical options that we just haven't found yet, contrasted with like Godfrey's very plain and simple like let's just be efficient. We know we could do it this way. Let's focus on what we know and don't chase like shadows, you know?
Yeah. I think that was interesting as a DM to just like sit back and let you sort of explore, because it was, I mean, every party needs a straight man and every party needs a dreamer, and it was like when those 2 moments kind of happened. And then you have the chaos of Ziba in there interjecting randomly as well. Yeah, cool. What about for you, Liz?
I think, and you and I kind of touched on this a little in the Meet the Player, how what is unfolding in the faith of Rick Monish and the world of Utopia, and kind of what that means for Scylla's past. I think that was kind of a big revelation that hasn't necessarily hit just yet, but I think will impact definitely soon. I think the beginnings of that are really starting to trip her up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we talked about this a little bit last time too. I know we talked about it at some point. I don't know if it's recorded. I don't know where. I don't know. But we've talked a little bit about the Godfrey Ziba dynamic, and like the moment of you 3 in Ulu's blacksmithing room and Ziba's just running around. It felt like a very like fatherly moment almost, of just like that dad that just lets the kid run, but then as soon as there's a moment to teach or to like interject, like that happens. And especially like with Ulu, when Godfrey was just like, can't we just give her this? Like trying to convince Ulu to like break Weaver's rules. Did that feel the same to you, like in the moment?
I think it did. Like that's definitely what I was trying to convey or trying
Yeah.
to play up a bit.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I will say the another moment that really stuck out for me was like that moment where like I don't think the listeners understand where the drop off and start of the episode between 2 weeks was.
Hmm.
But like that moment when it was finally revealed to the three of us, to Godfrey, Scylla, and Livy, or not Livy, Ziba, like we found out her like wanted poster or her missing poster.
Yeah. Yeah, that was wild.
Uh, for me, that was a standout moment as well. Just seeing
Yeah.
the reactions there.
Yeah, that was during the reconnaissance episode. Yeah, I was curious about how that was gonna go. And as a DM listening to those episodes back, and I didn't even notice it when I was editing, but I noticed it like way after the fact. There were multiple moments where I probably should have prompted Avis for a deception check. Prior to that, like at the healer, when I think Godfrey, you straight up ask like, why are we calling you Dee Dee? Like, is Dee Dee your name? And she was just like, it's just preference. Like, it's not a big deal. And to me, I'm just like, it didn't trigger my brain. Like, oh, maybe this should be a call out for a role. Hopefully that wasn't frustrating for you.
Oh no, not like so for me at my table when I play, like I don't have players make skill checks against other players.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have everything that comes across there be role play based.
Yeah.
So if players don't want to believe other players, that's up to them and not up to the dice,
Yeah.
If players want to lie to other players, you can't like make a roll to tell that they were lying. Like you have to pick up and like really go after the threat. So
Yeah, absolutely. That's really cool. I'm gonna talk to you more about that because I'm totally open. Like, if Scylla was like, insight check on whatever the fuck Morgus just said, I'd be like, okay. And
But
then
me as a person, I'm so like willing to take people at face value that unless I have like a true suspicion, I'm probably just gonna take it at what they say unless you call the check.
yeah, for sure. Cool. So yeah, there's a few more things that I just want to touch on before we get to the reconnaissance episode. And that's some of the things that happened with Livy and Morgus and what it was like sort of on the sidelines. What tactics or like skills do you all implement as players to be like, nope, I don't know that. I don't know that. My ears, like can't interact with that. When things like that happen, like when the party splits.
I'm so good at dissociating. Genuinely, I'm not even. I'm a Pisces, so I daydream anyway. So it is real easy for me to take myself out of a moment that I'm not necessarily supposed to be like tuned into, and just focus on something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very much the same. Like when it's not the theme that I'm in, and like I'm trying not to do it now because you call out for people to do recaps. Sometimes.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, whenever that happens and there's like a flash to an area or a scene where Godfrey's not present, I just don't take notes on it. So like I can't reflect back and figure out something that I wasn't there to know to begin with,
Yeah.
But I've kind of stopped doing that because sometimes I have to be responsible.
Because I'm learning.
Yeah.
And our patrons would know, if they're of a certain tier level when they get bloopers, that Avis's recaps are gold. Comedy.
Wait, hang on. We do a blooper reel.
Gold. Yeah.
So
last time I just cut out y'all's derail about Princess Bride while I was disciplining my cat.
You cut that?
Yeah, it's a blooper.
Oh, perfect. Great. That's fine.
I think it was published today, actually, on the Patreon.
Amazing.
Yeah. Cool. So There's this beautiful moment that Daniel loves when Scylla walks into the room for the first time. He's deemed this the t-shirt that he wants for Morgus.
Yep.
Is his term of calling everybody flower as like a pet name. And he says, "Can I get you a cup of," I don't even remember, "Can I get you a cup of flour
Cup
or
of coffee.
something?"
He said cup of
Cup of
coffee
coffee
flour. Cup
flour.
of coffee
Yes.
flour. And he says
Yeah.
it in a really lovely Scottish brogue. And I was not expecting it.
And you thought he said, "Can I get you a cup of cauliflower?"
And I thought, well, it's a bit early, isn't it? Kind of hearty for. It's heavy. Like, yeah, I'll take some later, but like, I mean, if we're going out, like, it's a bit harsh on the stomach, you know? It's like roughage. I have no excuse. Because it is. Yeah, go ahead.
I think that I thought, I didn't know what he said either. Clearly, I still don't know what he said. I just know that it was a cup of cauliflower. And it's hilarious.
The worst part about this is that and this is where I sound whatever. I pride myself on being able to like understand accents and it's, you know, I work with languages, so I like being able to like tell the difference and, you know, tune into what people are trying to say. I also do a Scottish accent in a Wednesday game relatively convincingly. And I didn't recognize it. It's like he said it and I went, it was one of those moments where I must have checked out and heard flower.
Yeah.
And maybe like the first syllable.
Yeah.
No excuse.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really curious, as you all are players, and this is your first interaction with Weaver as an NPC, right? She's present for most of those 2 episodes that we're talking about, Arm Wrestling Insight and Coffee and Schemes. She's just hanging out in the room and offers little nuggets here and there. Things like, I don't want anyone from my team to be exposed. I don't want there to be a large gathering of people, things like that. What are your thoughts about just Weaver as an NPC and the overall feeling of the Carousel Court?
I mean, I feel like Weaver is a very, like, Godfrey as a character is going to be suspicious. Like he's working for them and he trusts them up until this moment, but is always going to be kind of assessing their motives, you know? But like Weaver seems just like a strong character and, you know, really like one of the focal touch points of the court to him. So following what she says is important. That's kind of the dynamic he feels with Weaver.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. I think especially if you're somebody that's established himself within the court, you've kind of aligned yourself to what Weaver's about. And I think Weaver's very much built and cultivated something within the town that is very connected, very tight-knit, very by the book, but also very giving. And I think if you kind of, you know, run with that and play by her rules, it'll give back. And I think that's not something Scylla was used to prior to finding herself there. And in the time that she's been there has gotten really accustomed to it and, you know, settled into that comfort.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Well, yeah, I'm also, I'll circle back. So I believe both of you knew a little bit about Morgus's character. And I'm not giving any spoilers because nothing is blatant at this point. But were you surprised when the roleplay happened and you learned that Morgus could read Infernal? Does that like raise any red flags for you all?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, Yeah, no. What is a wizard making all sorts of lovely coffee flavors and whipped cream and hot chocolate with marshmallows and that sweet soft owl doing speaking hellish language like that? I mean, listen, know what you want to know. Be into what you're into, but that's a red flag. It's definitely something.
Yeah.
I didn't have in the story so far, I haven't had a reaction to it. Mostly because I was trying to disconnect myself from that moment because my character wasn't there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't feel like knowing the language itself is too much of a red flag for me, but that's might just be because I play with chaotic people who know all of the crazy languages for no reason. You know, it's just like, oh yeah, the Tabaxi, she speaks demonic and celestial. Well, it's fine. Just normal things. Don't worry about it.
There's a little bit of gaming that happens, I think, when players pick those languages, which I'm totally fine with. Like, that's why you can pick them sometimes. Especially Daniel having, like, there's gonna be some, of course, some slip-ins of, like, knowing the world. Like, Liz and Daniel know the world. And I'm pretty sure that's one of those, but I'm just like, all right, let's play the game, man. Let's play the game.
It actually occurred to me.
Yeah. And then were you all surprised when Livy did just kind of settle back from these grandiose dreams of finding tunnels and the political intrigue and the public, what word am I looking for? Public outing of Guinevere as this demon. Were you surprised when he did kind of settle back, or were you just like, no, this makes sense that he had just kind of come along with the group?
Yeah, I think at this point, and I know it's really fresh that we've kind of started up together, but I think it makes more sense as he kind of comes into that democratic, what are we doing next, party mentality. But I also think it makes sense that he was very much advocating for finding the most strategic way in, and
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So then, in the reconnaissance episode, the very last thing that happens is that you all find Ziba's missing persons flyer. I call her Milk Carton Kid. There are shirts with her missing poster face on them. That you already said is a strong moment for both of you in these episodes. So talk to me a little bit more about just each perspective, you as a player, and then also your character's perspective of that.
I mean, as a character, I feel like Godfrey already knew, because we walked through town and he was there when they were pulling down flyers in front of him. And he had picked up on the fact that, the two of them started calling her Dee Dee and not Ziba anymore, but continued alternating between the two names, like really unsuredly. I don't know. In my perspective, I felt like it was a good way for Godfrey to come through and be like, hey, we're not like, this is a thing and I don't care about that, but we have to work through it,
Yeah.
I think, and I'm hesitant to kind of reveal anything, but Zilla had a very, Zilla had an interesting reaction to it, and it's going to tie in a lot, I think, to something that Zilla had gone through prior to coming to the Carousel Court. And like all I want to do, both as a player and both as Zilla at this point, is protect Dee Dee. Like, just want to protect that little half orc. So I think in that moment where she was like, oh my God, you're a runaway, and like blurted it out, it had her yet what that meant in terms of like her own introspection. And then got on board with it quick about like, okay, let's keep you kind of hidden. Let's run with the Dee Dee thing. So yeah.
Yeah.
I should also reword it. I shouldn't say that Godfrey doesn't care about it. He more doesn't want to make a big deal out of it, you know, because he does very much care about that whole thing. And he, like, I want to have an interaction about that later in the game. But at this immediate moment when we're in the middle of a mission, you know.
Do you think that was more of like you don't appear as an immediate threat? I respect your past as your past kind of deal. Let's get through this and then we'll hash it out.
Yes.
Just out of curiosity, how old do you all think Dee Dee is?
Here's the thing. I'm not good with kids. Like, and I'm not good at talking to kids. Like, my friends have kids, and I try to have conversations with them like they're 30. Like I'll pass them a juice and be like, "You good with that?" Like, I don't understand what's like the kid voice. So like, aging kids is really difficult for me, which didn't mean to sound as weird as I said it. I talk to all kids like they're like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I have no idea. Absolutely no idea. She's running around with swords.
Yeah.
She's got caffeine in her. Like, old enough
I forgot about
to
that.
adventure. Like,
Avis played that so well. So well. And then Morgus saying, I brought you a cup of cocoa this time. You know? I know you didn't like the bitterness last time.
so it's stuff like that like, yeah, she's kicking ass, and then it's like, oh, bringing you a cup of hot cocoa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, 40? 16?
Yeah. What do you think, Adam?
I think 12, only because 12 is a number that's been thrown around a lot, just like in unknowing, you know.
Huh.
Like, oh, she's like 12. So my immediate age range that I'm thinking is somewhere between like 8 and like 14.
Yeah.
But probably more on the lower side.
So what the hell happened that she left? Like, that's even more concerning. I just want to protect this child.
She RP'd that in session. And Avis got so into it. I did nothing. She voiced her parents, voiced like every person in it. She just like made this little short movie for herself. And it was amazing. I don't know. I don't think it was recorded. I'd have to dig back. Holy smokes. It was powerful. And I just fucking love her so much. Amazing. Cool. Well, yeah, the most recent episode that was released is the next one, which is Rats and Imps and Demons.
Rats and Imps and Demons.
So oh yeah, we forgot the interaction between Scylla and George.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How was that?
That was super cool. I liked that. And I liked that you kind of played into my whole, like, exactly what I wanted that interaction to be.
Mm-hmm.
Just, you know, I know people around, not well, but like, I've done jobs for you. Yeah, I love George. I think George is a great character. I like hope we run into him again.
The only thing that I remember from that whole interaction is, so we use Roll20 that has a chat. We have Discord, which has our chat, and then we're in like our video platform. No one uses the chat in there. Thank fucking God, because I would not see it. But I'm sitting here acting out this interaction with you. Over to the Roll20 chat, and Ed has typed, "This is the best bisexual energy I've ever seen in my life." And I still don't know what that means.
No,
I still don't know what that means.
I know what that was. I know exactly what that was because I tried to look away and I blocked it out. It was because Scylla goes up and like does the hat tip, the not quite finger guns, but and like every good bisexual, I can't just like say like a normal hi. It's got to be some sort of odd.
Why does that resonate on a very deep level?
Yeah, that and like I can't sit in chairs properly. I'm not sitting right now. It's just a symptom of it. Um, but I lost it when I saw Ed type that in the chat. And that was another moment of like this party just really getting each other and I think kind of just growing into each other's like vibes, I guess. Because that was absolutely what I was going for. Awkward bisexual.
I love it. I love it now that I get it. I mean, I loved it before, but I also just like it was over my head.
If you know, you know.
I'm a baby queer over here. I don't know what's happening.
It's okay.
So yeah, and then Avis attaches to this idea of rats in this moment. And I also used it as a moment of shame. You all, Zimma and Livy have had like 5 bounties since session 1, and only done 1 of them. And they didn't even actually complete it. They never got paid for the wolf pelts. They never went and found Fran, figured out what Fran's up to.
Fran's still out there?
Fran! They forgot about Fran!
Fran! We gotta find Fran. Who's Fran?
Yeah. Anyway.
I have Fran on a shirt.
Yeah.
I feel like we'll find. Oh, I won't say anymore.
I feel.
Nope.
I'm
Beautiful.
from the future.
I feel like redacted.
Yeah.
So at the beginning of Rats, Imps, and Demons, Adam, you have this beautiful moment where you're like, I'm sure Morgus and Livy remember that we're going to meet at the castle.
Oh, yeah. So here's the full rundown of that. This is a sad moment that happened because there was like a 2-week gap between it.
Mm-hmm.
It's Godfrey in the initial was like, here's the plan. Let's meet with the other group. Let's tell them to meet us in the city afterwards, and we'll go do that. And Dee Dee was like, oh, me, I'll go do that. I'll go tell them. And she goes off and she tells them, but she doesn't tell them to meet us at the castle. And so Godfrey assumes that she has said that. So the fact that they didn't know was because no one literally told them.
This literally makes the fact that they're just in the water making mango compote and eating croissants so much better.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. I missed so much just trying to.
That.
Yeah. It's great. Oh,
I know because I remember in that session that when she ran off and did that, in my mind I was, just staring off into the camera, slowly shaking my head. I had forgotten why I had done that next time we came to the table.
Oh my gosh. It's so great. So that's how the episode kind of starts, I think. And then we RP each party kind of getting to the castle. And Livy and Morgus just kind of head through normally and get through the gardens, which I fucking love the gardens. I picture them in my brain and it's just like this gorgeous thing. And if you follow our Instagram, I know Liz has seen this, like the very loose inspiration. It's definitely more green than like rocky crags of the Edinburgh Castle, but that's kind of the inspiration behind it, of like this fountain and these beautiful gardens and this stairwell that leads up to this big green kind of stone patinaed castle in a way. Yeah, they just kind of meander through and then just stand at the stairs. Like, Livy's like trying to think about if he can climb over the wall. And there's an interesting moment there. And then we flash back to your group and you're like, yeah, we're going to go through the gardens. We're going to take the alleys to get there. And me, I'm just describing shit in the alleys. I kind of forgot about the rat thing. I'm gonna be honest. I kind of forgot about it. And I say that there's a rat scurrying by, and Avis is just like, yup.
Give me that rat.
Yeah. This
And
is important.
My favorite thing about this is she shoves it in Godfrey's face. Like, can you talk to this rat? And you all don't know each other well enough to know if anyone even can talk to
Certainly
the
not
rat.
well enough to shove a rat in his face.
No!
She specifically knows that I can't because I couldn't talk to the spiders either.
I'm just gonna keep trying it with any vermin she comes across. What about this? Can you talk to this?
Can I just get a ring?
That's
of
a
animals?
cockroach.
And then it bites her and she drops it. And my favorite moment of this is Godfrey saying, now Ziba, or I think you said Dee Dee.
Yeah.
Would this rat have talked to you after you picked it up by the tail, swung it around, and tried to tie it? Even if someone could speak to animals. I loved that. I loved it so much. And Scylla's just there observing this. And then I think, Liz, you make a comment like, have you ever heard rats talk? The word gets around. And
Yeah,
Godfrey's
right.
like, no, I can't talk to him.
No, but here's the thing. If Dee Dee's expecting us to get information from these swung one around an alleyway, do you think they're gonna be any kind of willing to give us any information in the future? No. Ran back to his little rat friends and gave us names and faces. Absolutely dimed us in. We're not getting help from a single rat in Florencia.
I loved that moment so much. Great. You get to the gardens. Once again, Dee Dee tries to sneak up on Livy and can't do it. And you start trying to plan what you're gonna do. And talk to me about this moment of like additional planning. What were you all thinking? What were your characters thinking? Like, I'm really curious.
Okay, I could go first. Godfrey was thinking about a way where we could, maybe tell the guards like, hey, have you seen those posters about this Ziba that's missing? I think I saw her like going down that alley that way. Can you go check that out really quick? And then just like trying to make a diversion.
Mm-hmm.
I think Scylla at this point is kind of just trying to take a back seat and especially on this first one, really just out to be the support that Weaver set her up to be. And isn't really in a position to really dictate the route that we're taking right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the planning takes a while.
We're very considerate. Very considerate group.
Yeah. You don't just want to barge in there and not have a plan.
Bad things happen. We don't plan.
Yeah, totally fair. Totally fair. But I had already planned something that would be like a big thing. And then it's total irony, Liz, that you were like, why don't we plan a nice lullaby? Why don't we make them a little REM cycle? And I was like, are you reading my mind? What is happening?
That's my go-to is if we can't kill them, maybe we can like make them go night-night.
Mm-hmm.
And like not in like a permanent setting.
Yeah. But I mean, castles, here's the thing that is, I don't want to get on a soapbox. Never mind. I'm not gonna do it.
We will never know.
Are you sure?
Castle so
I'm just saying, here's the thing. Castles are meant to be impenetrable. They're meant to be heavily guarded. They're meant to be fortified. They're meant to be hard to get into. So I totally understand like the amount of planning. But it's like the sun is set. this ritual is happening. There's an amount of time in which you have to get there. And I just love the fact that you all stood at the bottom of the stairs, literally like a 5-minute walk from the front doors of the castle, and decided that was when you were going to continue to plan.
Okay, but here's the thing. Front door is what sticks out there to me as a trap. Front door is what sticks in my mind is like, be really fucking careful. You can't ever just walk through somewhere.
Yeah.
Like for me, there was also the extra benefit of, Weaver told us that we literally can't be seen or referenced, or like the relations can't be found. So for me, I was like, well, how do we do that? How do we get through this heavily fortified area without anyone seeing or recognizing us later?
Not by going in the front door.
Yeah.
So then I kind of prompt this planning session, I interrupt, with the description of the castle worker falling asleep on the stairs. And you all run and spring into action. And you put her on a bench, and then you just start heading towards the castle. There's another really, I think this happens a lot between Godfrey and Ziba, or at least I think it's a theme where like Godfrey's like, I'm gonna try the door, and you're like standing at the door, and then Ziba and Morgus are like, well, what if can we investigate the guards for keys? And then they find the keys, and then Ziba is like, I'm gonna unlock the door, and you're like, well, I'm already standing here, and Ziba's like, but I found the keys. It's so familial. Like it's like very much like it could be a brother, sister, like yeah, it's great. I love it.
It's good.
That's my only comment there. But I am curious what you all were thinking, like as your characters made it to the grass and you began to realize like how large of a radius of spell this was, and like how everyone's asleep.
Yeah. Actually, I don't think that hit me until we were in the room and like in combat that that what had allowed us to get this close had actually radiated to like when we came in. That wasn't something I realized till we were like well into combat, that I was like, oh shit, this is bad. This is big.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like as soon as we turned the top of the stairs and saw that this had affected like all of the guards, Godfrey was immediately like, we have to be inside there 5 minutes ago. Like we've got to just move as quickly and efficiently as possible. We can't stop to ask questions. We can't stop to rifle through things. We just have to get in there.
Yeah.
Like, this is bad.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So you open the door and you all get inside and you're entering into like this little foyer, and there's a funny moment where Ziba's like, I don't trust that statue. And then there's a rug. Adam, you held strong to your there was a monthly minutes where you were like, every rug. I just want to look under every rug. You held strong to that in the RP. And then comically, you open the door, we roll for initiative, and Godfrey rolls a 9, and you're stuck.
Yep. Ha!
Which is just a hilarious game mechanic. Like, there's no way around it, but like, it's just one of those like quirky like things that happen. Also, I know. I think I said this on another monthly minutes as well. Adam, you knew the XP total of this fight going into it. And I know you were pretty nervous about it. Having come through, knowing that only half the combat has been aired, other half and end will come out tomorrow for Patreon subscribers. How do you feel about it? And how were you feeling about it when you got in the room and you saw everything?
I mean, I trust you not to throw something that we can't handle, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Even if it is really difficult, I expect it to be possible, but difficult, you know?
Yeah.
And when I'm playing in game, I try not to think about it too much, because I don't want to get like stuck on that fact of like, oh no, this is impossible.
Yeah.
Because that's not what Godfrey's thinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when he saw the room and he saw everything, his mind wasn't even on like the imps or other creatures. It was just on, we have to disrupt this ritual no matter what. Like, disrupt the ritual first, deal with the creatures later.
Yeah, and you had the brilliant idea of handing out bars of soap.
Mhm.
And that's exactly what Avis / Dee Dee does. In the first round of combat, she runs in and starts scrubbing away at this symbol after Guinevere disappears into the shadow. And all these impish frog creatures are just running and just like imps. This is the first combat for Scylla with a party.
Yeah.
Is this your first ever? This was your first ever combat with a paladin? Is that
Oh
true?
yeah. This is totally my first foray into paladin combat.
How was it? What were you thinking?
I think I was just no, I was totally thinking, but I was thinking how I can, because I'm usually like pretty at the forefront of combat. I don't play support characters very often. I am very like spell attack heavy, so it is going to be interesting for me to learn how to play like a little bit more of a healer support and a little bit more of a protector and a shield. So that was challenging, but I also like I picked this character because I wanted something a little bit more challenging than I've played before. So also kind of rewarding to get to learn that. But yeah, lots of growing into, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved that you I think maybe this is a spoiler, but I don't think it is because I think it's like as you were moving through the doorway, because Ed was higher up in initiative and Livy was standing in the doorway. I think most everyone had gone through already because you were at the end, which comes into play. Because I fucking skipped you for 2 rounds, which
okay.
people will hear. But you ask Livy as you pass through the doorway, like, "Are you doing okay?" And Livy's like, "I have not been hurt. Go help Dee Dee and Godfrey right now."
I think, do you know what it was? I realized I couldn't see the map in
Yes,
roll 20
yeah.
and I was at like total darkness, and then I confused Livy and Zippa for a second. And I'm giving myself like 1 or 2 of those and then I've got to get it right.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that was hysterical.
Yeah, it was great.
He was just like, "No, I'm fine. Get in there." And I was like, "Oh fuck, that's a door."
Yeah. I think we also like, again, I'm just going to be strategic about what I say because I honestly don't remember where combat ended and where things happened with the combat. So maybe we'll kind of end here pretty soon around that topic. But it's also the first time, I think, this is probably the first time Scylla and Godfrey have seen Morgus in a fight.
Yeah.
Do you think that their box or like their ideas of Morgus as a character changed based on his actions or his abilities?
I don't know if they've changed just yet. I think I'm still developing those, but it was very interesting to see again, like the contrast between how Morgus behaves in a situation like the coffee thing, versus like in that kind of throwdown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's just more information, but I don't think it changes how Godfrey sees him at all yet.
Yeah.
I think he would have to be in more situations like that.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, we will move into questions with a drum roll. Sweet.
I felt like it needed some sort of like flourish.
Okay. We didn't get any questions from anywhere online that I'm aware of before this started, and I'm not about to go like stretch and look all over places. So I still have questions to ask you all. if Scylla's life or Godfrey's life was a sitcom, which sitcom would it be?
Russian Doll. Is that a sitcom? That's kind of a sitcom. That's like a situational dark comedy.
Yeah, we'll just
Yeah, Russian Doll, 100%.
I don't know many.
TV show in general. Then
What would his life be? Is this...
It's a hard question.
I'm not 100% sure, and this is partly because of me trying to relate things to Godfrey, and partly because I don't watch TV much.
Mm-hmm.
So, Cheers.
I like Cheers.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. If Scylla or Godfrey won $1 million to give away or do whatever they want with, what would they do?
She'd probably give it away. She'd probably
Yeah.
give it away and not say much about it.
Anywhere specific? Any specific like thing or
Yeah,
person
she'd probably dole it out amongst several like needs that she's come across over the years, but like wanting to get rid of it as quick as possible.
Yeah.
Godfrey's probably very similar. You'd probably give it away to either healers or to people who couldn't afford to get to healers, if that's a thing in an area in Rickmonish.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Maybe to some efforts in I'm blanking on the name. Sorry, it's been a weird week and day for my headspace.
Bemelda,
that's okay.
Winston, Ventinos.
Mentinos is where Godfrey's from.
Mentinos, yes.
Everyone's from fucking Mentinos. We talked about this, Liz and I.
Yeah.
Talk about this. I think it's just a really memorable name.
There's only one letter difference between Mentinos and Ventinos.
Mentinos, yeah.
And Ventinos is a tropical paradise, so, you know.
I mean, Raretrix from Ventinos.
Yeah. Have either of your characters come into contact with a creature that really scared them? Like something that haunts their nightmares?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm not elaborating more than that.
That's fine. You don't have to. What's the best part of your day? Waking up.
I was just gonna say that.
This is kind of a shitty questions list, but that's a good one.
I think maybe just being able to go and do a little bit of gardening and trying to like hone in on some more traditional methods of healing.
Hmm.
I feel like for Godfrey, it's like after waking up in the morning and doing like a yoga morning wake up routine, especially in an area like we're in now where it's next to a beach.
Mm-hmm. I want that.
Sounds so good right now. I'm gonna do
Sounds
yoga by the
great.
beach.
Maybe not right now, especially well, it's spring. It's spring in Rickmonish, so
Yeah.
Great. What are your characters' opinions on nobility?
It's a paycheck.
They could probably do more.
Hmm.
It's like Mark.
Hmm.
I have to do, a history check. God knows how much nobility does.
Yeah, why do I feel like I needed a roll on that one?
No. Yeah, they could do more.
Yeah, they can do more.
Yeah.
Already paying us a living wage and making sure
They're doing a
everyone's
lot, but
fed and safe and
they could do more.
there's no war.
I can always do more.
I mean, is that every nobility in every region of Rickmonish?
No, it's Ebknor.
Okay.
Utopia. Okay. Do you have any questions for me? I haven't asked that this whole time. To answer.
Party members.
I am not allowed to have an opinion.
I didn't ask which one's your favorite. But if you did have
I
one,
love
who would
it.
it be?
I love the dynamic. I love it all. I love every single one of you all. I feel like for some reason the image that came into my mind, and this is kind of a deep cut, so maybe you all won't know what I'm referencing, but there's this episode of Adventure Time where Jake finds this box full of living like dolls of all the Adventure Time characters. And he stays up like all night, like putting them into relationships and then breaking them up and then putting them into other relationships and like sequestering them, and that's kind of what it feels like. But I hope it doesn't end that way, because in the end of that episode, all of those dolls are just like crying and sad because their lives are fucked by this like god, and it just reminds me of D&D every time I hear that episode.
And that's how you feel with us. We're just dolls in your little box. Pair us off, shake it up, and watch us cry.
I mean, that's what D&D's about, right?
Oh yeah, no, that's why I'm here.
I kind of, I'll be honest, I kind of hate the premise of like the DM is the god, because I don't think that that's true. We don't have to get into it. There's not enough time to get into it, but I'll just say that. I felt like Godfrey, you had a question for me as well.
Yeah. How does it make you feel, or like, what is your opinion on the extra side quest situation so far, like the billboards and the post-its? Like, how do you feel when like a party doesn't pursue those leads that you've put in?
Oh,
like, is it something that you expect us to do? Is it something that you're like, man, I designed all this cool stuff for it and I'm a little bummed that I don't get to show that?
It's a great question. I don't really care. I like put time into it, so it would be fun if you did them. At the same time, it's great fodder for one shots. So like, which I DM kind of frequently. So if something gets missed or something, then I'm just like, oh, two people have to miss a different session. Cool, let's play a one shot. That's how Ha Ha Ho and a Bottle of Rum came about. That's how probably any other one shots that IDM will come about. I'll just take a bounty board and replace it or not replace it. What I will add there, though, is you all are at a part in the story where the world is about to expand kind of rapidly, which is going to be cool to see how you all deal with that. And again, it depends on your all's choices as well, too, right? So, like, I say that, but it could take until June for the listeners. Who the fuck knows? But as that happens, there'll be more and more value in at least understanding what's posted there. Like what are the people dealing with? What is concerning to the population, and what's going on in these towns and villages and cities. So that's what I'll say. I don't really care if you do them or not. It's gold in your pocket, and it's XP for you to train to potentially become, proficient in things, which I know you think is a impossible task.
A little bit. But I trust that it plays out differently than I think it plays out.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I'm very much like an open world RPG kind of a DM. Like, if y'all want to take days off, take days off. Could there potentially be consequences to you not taking action in a fast enough manner? Yes. The world moves on.
It's that last line, the world moves on. There's consequences. If you take that,
That's concerning.
Line, that it's really like, maybe we should.
Here's the thing. Like, would it be fun for you all to play in a world in a vacuum where only like
No.
the things that you
No.
do impact the world itself, versus like it being its own living, breathing thing that like,
No,
Yeah.
I love that it's a living, breathing thing.
yeah.
It just
That doesn't mean I'm not a little bit
motivates-
scared.
Yeah, it just motivates me as the character Godfrey, who heard about Redacted,
That's a spoiler.
to go redacted.
I mean, it's in an episode already. It's teased. It's been
Yeah.
teased. Yep. All right. Well, that is all the time we have. Thank you all. And thank you all for viewing and hanging out. And we'll see you next month.
This is so much fun.
Bye. See you next month.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.